Welcome to Midlife Moves, where we're figuring out this whole midlife thing one day, one workout, and one what the hell just happened moment at a time. I'm Heather, and if you're navigating career shifts, fitness goals, parenting teenagers, or just wondering when the hell we became the grown-ups, you're in the right place. Let's talk about the real stuff, no filters, just honest conversations and a little bit of chaos. Let's get into it. Hi. I'm Heather Francis, and welcome to another episode of Midlife Moves. Today we're talking confidence. Today we are having a conversation about confidence and how we show up for ourselves in our 40s and how that was different from when we were younger, and how sometimes we don't even realize that we have the confidence, like that experiential confidence, until we're actively like moving from that place. And we stop and we think, oh, I know what I'm doing. So there was a situation, it was business related, where I was very, very clear. I had to be very clear. And I just said, this is how we work and this is what we charge. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Maybe we're just not the right fit. It's my day job, right? As soon as I did that, and as soon as I made the comment, it costs what it costs, I had this moment where I just thought, when did that happen? Because past versions of me would have found ways to try to make it more palatable for the other person. So, but in, the numbers don't lie, right? In business, numbers don't lie. So when you charge what you charge for a reason. That's neither here nor there, but that's something I never would have done in my 20s. I know for a fact I wouldn't have done that in my 30s either. I probably wouldn't have even done this in my younger 40s. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I didn't trust myself enough to stand in it. And that's been the shift for me. It's not loud or aggressive. It's just like quiet confidence. It just kind of happens one day. It's knowing I'll be okay. I don't need to over-explain. I'm not trying to be perfect anymore or liked by everyone, right? And when I realized that, when I really sat with it, I understood then how slowly confidence was built through experience, through getting it wrong, through showing up over and over and over again. So I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about what confidence actually looks like as we move through different seasons of our lives, and how it evolves into something very different than what we thought when we were younger. As I was thinking about who I wanted to have that conversation with, Liz Martin was the first person that came to mind. You guys heard from her in a past episode. She's phenomenal. She is someone who completely, unapologetically is who she is, and she has built a career and a brand from that place of self-trust. We talk about how confidence has changed for her and for me over the years, and how that has built her to this place where she has just developed her own line of cosmetics. This conversation is an extension of all of those thoughts, and I'm really, really excited for you guys to hear it. I am here today again with Liz Martin. Liz is the founder of Myne Beauty. She is a repeat guest now, which we are very appreciative of. Liz, I'm really excited to talk to you about our topic today. Talking about confidence. I wanted to talk about confidence and how it shows up, especially as we move through different cycles in our life. And there was no one else that crossed my mind to have this conversation with than you. So welcome back.
Well, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. And when you reached back out and we started talking again, I got so excited because I felt like I had a kinship with you about this, how did it all begin thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, right, because as we move through our careers, I don't remember what happened. Something happened. And I was like, I never would have had the confidence to act like this or to respond. It was probably a client situation, honestly, because my day job is my husband and I own a business. And I never would have had the confidence to respond the way that I did now. And I just started thinking about how I was in my 20s and my 30s. And then, how it's evolved and what a difference it is. And we don't even notice it sometimes.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's true.
So we're just going to start at the beginning. So let's talk about what drew you into your industry and what did those early years look like for you? If you want to remind people what because you grew up in the beauty industry.
I spent over 30 years in the beauty industry. I'm still in the beauty industry. I developed a beauty brand for women 50 plus, but it was years and years of being in the industry, learning how to develop products, create the marketing story, figure out operationally how you can handle your inventory. It was that 30-year span. So all of that experience under my belt, and then realizing that I had a white space opportunity at the tender age of 54, that, you know what, I could do this. I could actually create my own brand based on all of the knowledge that I've, gained over the years. So that's what I did. I built Myne Beauty, which stands for My Youth Never Ends. And it's a line of product for women 50 plus, made by women 50 plus.
So there were moments, I'm sure, that as you were moving into that, like that's something that comes with experience, like the confidence, like knowing that you can handle that. One, like
right,
the perspective of like, I've got this,
Yeah.
That's not something that you always would have had.
No, absolutely not. And you asked, what drew me into the industry. I mean, it was back in like the 80s, right? The late 80s. I had just graduated from college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do. We didn't have computers. We didn't have vision boards or whatever you had. Back then, getting a job meant you sit across from a recruiter in some crappy little office in New York, because that's where I was, and they had a massive Rolodex, like literally a flip through Rolodex.
Do you remember Rolodexes?
Right?
Yes.
And it was like they hand wrote the cards, or they took your business card and they stapled it to another card. So the recruiter would flip through, they'd pull out a few cards. Yeah, that looks about right. And they'd physically pick up the phone, because the phone still had an attachment to it. And they would make a phone call. And just like that, you were employed. So, I landed a job at a bank for a year, and my boss at the time, long story, but his ex-girlfriend was the director of marketing at Estee Lauder. And he made a phone call on my behalf and made the introduction. And that was it. Like there was no master plan. There was no vision board. Like I was saying before, it was just a connection and a little bit of luck. And so really, I would say the beauty industry found me before I ever found it.
Isn't that funny? So Liz and I were talking a little bit before we went online, and I was telling her in my corporate life, I worked as an insurance broker. Yeah. And like no one ever says,
"Oh, I'm going to graduate and go be an insurance broker.
I'm going to go sell insurance. I'm going to go do employee benefits."
I shouldn't laugh, because there are people who may feel that way, and that's awesome if you know what your passion is. But
we used to laugh because everyone that I worked with was like, I'm not entirely sure. So my mom was the owner of our brokerage firm. So that's how I wound up there. Like the relationship, like real
little nepotism.
So there was a little bit of nepotism, but we joked. And with the insurance companies that we worked with, it was a lot of former teachers. And so we used to always laugh that like teachers would shift into insurance. It was interesting. I don't know if it's still the same way. I've been out of that for 10 years, but anyway, yeah. So it's interesting where we land, and it's not always where we think it's going to be.
No, exactly.
So as you were coming up, you found, and we talked a little bit about this, you found yourself in rooms. The attitude toward women has adjusted over the past 20 years. And part of that is because, like there were women who really pushed for us to have that space. But like, I know as I was coming up in, my career, there were times that I felt like I was not taken seriously, or I adjusted my voice to make people feel comfortable. That was something that I did a lot coming up. Is that something that you experienced? I don't see you as somebody who holds back necessarily.
So what are you saying?
No, but I love it. That's why I like this conversation with you.
Well, but again, like youth versus experience. When you're young, so first of all, I grew up in Estee Lauder, right? And Lauder was a corporate boot camp. but really in the best way possible. They had a career ladder. They had that career ladder thing down to a science. You learned, you climbed, you earned your next step. So honestly, I never really questioned if I belonged or if my voice was appropriate because they trained you to belong. They trained you to know when to use your voice or when to not use your voice. And I was so amazed, like in looking back, hindsight, of course, is always 2020. I can't believe how amazing that company was at growing people. I'm not going to say grooming them, but growing them. So I didn't really notice so much of what you're suggesting because it was a company for women by women. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so I feel really fortunate to have learned without, and look, that's not to say I didn't get my ass kicked every now and again. I didn't get told to sit down. I didn't get told I was wrong or I had to stay late and redo something because, we totally effed it up the first time. That all happened, of course, but I never felt that I've done something so egregious or so wrong that I had to shrivel, and not be heard. Do you know what I mean? Maybe other industries would have been different, but it was because of where I was. And there were so many women, and I did have women bosses, and they had women bosses, that it was, it was very woman oriented.
And that's fantastic because like my experience was very different. So my mom is one of the owners, but one of the other owners, when I was going out on maternity leave, he was like, with my fourth child, he was like, you're going to have a lot of time on your hands. So I want you to read the Affordable Care Act.
Oh, and I was like, so much time.
I'm going to have a lot of time. I'm on maternity leave with my fourth baby. So
okay, well that's just ignorant and stupid.
So there's all kinds of things, and I hope that I think his daughter listens to this show. So I'm sorry, but anyway, it's interesting. Like, what a fantastic place to come up for you.
It was. Look, it wasn't without its issues as well, and quite frankly, back in the 90s. Yeah, maternity leave was sort of a sticking point as well, even for a woman-owned company. I mean, I was pregnant with both my kids when I worked at Lauder, and same thing, Heather. 6 weeks. That's all you got. I mean,
that's all you got.
You're still very sore by the time you have to be sitting back at your desk, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with your child and nanny versus daycare. I mean, and they're only 6 weeks old and your body's adjusting. I mean, I wish it would have been better. I do. I do. And I wish it would have been easier. I wear it as a badge of honor that I made it through, that I never stopped working, even through all of that. I'm sure. I mean, look, I only had 2. You had twice as many babies as I did. God only knows how I did it. Plus commuting. I was on a train from Connecticut to New York City every goddamn day. There was no such thing as work from home. There was no hybrid back then. So in that regard, I frankly wish they would have been a little more on the forefront of women's issues.
Yeah. I don't think that there was a space in general for a lot of that, though. Like we just, like that just wasn't a thing.
I agree. And it wasn't until I think a lot of women's voices got very loud. Companies realized they were going to lose employees. And frankly, women got loud about it and said, this is not right. I mean, look, it's still not perfect. And we still have companies who don't honor women, I don't think, well enough and take into account the health of the mother and the baby by taking them away from each other so quickly,
Yeah.
It's so far behind us now.
It's so far. God, it's so long ago. It's so long ago.
Wow.
So if you look at how you viewed ambition, maybe at least earlier in your career versus now, like it's a totally different game for you. Like now you've got Myne. So how did your ambition evolve? Like what is important to you now that maybe wasn't important to you then?
So first of all, it's all about me now, right? I mean, I'm almost 60 years old at this point. I spent my time learning and doing for somebody else for a really long time. But with that came learning and learning how to do things so that now at this age and this time in my life, I can stand on my own and do it myself and do it for myself. So I could have never done this when I was younger. I didn't have the skills and I didn't have the perspective. Being older means being wiser because of all the experience you've had in life. So I'm taking advantage of all of that knowledge that I have, and I'm applying it to something that I really feel so passionate about,
Do you remember the moment that you decided that this was something that you wanted to do? Like, how long was this in your head? Or was it something like a nudge that you felt and you acted on pretty quickly?
It was during COVID. I was talking to a friend of mine who was also, my same age, kind of going through the same thing I was going through. And we were chatting a little bit. And I said, I think I was talking about my readers, which of course are right here. They're always within eye shot.
Yeah.
They're either on my head or on my body. But I couldn't read something. And I said, I'm so tired of always having to have my readers in order to see this. And I was going through menopause. So my hot flashes were amazing and not in a good way.
Yes. Well.
And it was all just happening. And I thought it was really the birth of the idea of mine that, I still feel really young, but everything about me right now is changing and I can't control it. And I was getting angry about it. And I realized that there was a white space out there. Truly. And this was back when I was 54. I'm now 58. So the idea percolated for a year. And then I started talking to more and more people about the idea, people in my own industry. And, a lot of people said, be cautious, be careful. Do you really want to do this now? You're just about retirement age. Why don't you just continue consulting? But then I had another group of people who were like, go for it. You can do this. You totally can do this. And my inner self listened to that group. Although the first group, I have them tucked in the back of my brain. So, I am cautious about what I'm doing, but that was it. I just sort of was like, I think I can do this. In fact, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm starting it small. I didn't go out guns blazing. I went out very strategic and small to build momentum and build credibility and build a following of people who I think are in the exact same position that I'm in. I'm 58, but I don't feel 58. I don't think I look 58. Maybe I do. I don't know.
No, I didn't know how old you were, and I can't believe my jaw didn't drop. Yeah. So no, I didn't know 58. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I don't feel my age. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel like, but I feel like I've always felt, and I wanted beauty that felt the same way I did. You know what I mean? I go to the store with my daughter. God bless her. She's 28. She's awesome. She's beautiful. And she's like, oh, Mom, you would love this product. Meanwhile, she's using it and buying it. I'm like, but you're 28. I'm not your age. It doesn't work for me the same way.
I find what I have a hard time with, and I catch myself a lot, is because I'm 45. So I catch myself making old jokes. You know what I mean? Because in reality, it's not old. 45 is not old. It's not 45 from 30 years ago, or 40 years ago. 45 is still pretty young. And I find myself all the time catching myself, even saving for retirement. I panic every once in a while. I'm are we doing enough? And the answer for us personally is probably not. That's for another day. But it's not that close either. Realistically, no. There's still many, many years ahead for that kind of thing. And I think that the way we view and the way society has told us, 40's old, it's just not.
I don't know that society tells us that, or we start feeling it. It's hard to say,
Yes.
And I do think the world is changing dramatically. I think we're living longer. I think our careers are some of the longest in history simply because we're aging better. we're smarter, we're more educated than any other group of people in history. So as all of that's happening, by the time we get into our 50s and our 60s, we're the most wise people that there are.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't you want to keep that person around?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if you get to that age and you suddenly don't want that corporate job anymore, why don't you take all of that wisdom and knowledge and apply it to something as opposed to sitting on the rocking chair, which look, if that's what you want to do, you want to sit on the rocking chair and enjoy yourself, go for it. But it's a long life now, right? We live really long and we've learned so much along the way. It's a shame to not use that wisdom and teach maybe the younger people. So yeah, I mean, just circling back to, do people think 40 is old? Maybe they did in years past and in decades past and generations past, because it was. We didn't live as long. We weren't as smart. We weren't as healthy, but we are now. And I think the times are finally changing where 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40, 60 is the new 50, because of all of that, and I'm feeling pretty blessed that I'm at a time now where I think people are so receptive to more mature people still being in the conversation.
I love that. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not the same as it was.
No, it's not. And that's called evolution, and we are evolving, and I never want to poo-poo where it was before, but we should learn from it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen meaningful changes? Do you feel like you've seen meaningful changes for women that are coming up behind you?
Gosh, it's so
because it's so with the whole evolution theme, right? Like, because the younger generation, it's also a different, their attitude toward work and balance is much different than what was at least what I grew up with. I grew up with very much you go to work.
Yes.
You figure out how to get to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like this generation that's coming up has a much healthier outlook on, if they're sick, they're going to take a sick day.
Yes. And I think companies are more willing to allow them to do it without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that said, you remember, look, there's tiers of companies. There are the Fortune 500s, there's Fortune 100s, medium size, small companies. And at the end of the day, if you choose to work for one of those big companies, those big Fortune 500s, and I'm going to count Estee Lauder as one of them, which I'm so grateful that I was doing that. Companies need to perform. That hasn't changed, and that will never change. There is always a bottom line.
Yeah.
So the expectation to deliver is still there for everyone.
100%.
Right? So maybe there's a bit more flexibility now in certain environments, but the fundamentals, you work hard, you prove yourself, and you add value. That part, I don't think that's not going anywhere, and that goes for any company. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, because our company, we have 10 people that work for us, between employees and, we have a team of approximately 10. And we're very flexible with them. We're very flexible with everybody. We're a small company. We have to be.
Sure.
But
there's a but there. Yeah.
But we still have to make money so that they still have jobs.
That's right. And the way that you make money so that they can have a job is that everybody's got to work hard.
Everybody's got to do their job. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm grateful. I mean, as crazy as this is going to sound, I think the whole COVID thing was one of the best things that could have happened to corporate culture. Not so much that everybody got to work from home, because I think that pendulum almost went too far in one direction, because then everybody was isolated and then there was no more camaraderie and socialization. But I think where we are now, where it's more hybrid, where companies are allowing people to be a little more flexible, to not always be in the office 5 days a week, every single day, is probably the most healthy. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's evolution. There was a time when you had to be in the office every single day, Monday through Friday, period, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way around it. Now we've evolved and we are learning. So it took a while to get there, but I think we're on the right path. I'd like to see more for women and maternity, because I do think that oftentimes pulls women off the corporate trail. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the answer is. That's a hard one. As you know, you have 4 kids. Imagine trying to be in a big giant corporation after having 4 kids. That's tough. It's a balance.
Yeah. Can we transition a little bit and talk about what success looks like to you now?
What does success look like? Well, I raised 2 beautiful, healthy children, and I have a great marriage. Through all of that, through the whole career raising children thing, I came out with those 3 things. And those are the 3 things that I'm most proud of. I love my work. I love my job. I love what I'm doing right now. And I'm so glad that I have a support group at home here who is telling me that I'm doing the right thing. And they're really proud of what I'm doing. And they'll support me with whatever, wherever this venture takes me. So yeah, I would say that in a nutshell.
It's interesting because success for us, for me, has shifted to younger. It was, like what is my salary? And that was the main, like just trying to make ends meet. And it's really shifted to how can I enjoy the people in my life the most? How can we sustain this life and, like spend time with the kids? And so really like the kids, the family is their
Right.
happiness and their, the ability to take care of them is probably what I would consider success for us at this point too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, they didn't ask to be here.
No.
That was a decision Tim and I made. So I felt like I wanted it to be the best that it could be for them,
So one final question. When you look at the woman you are today, what are you most proud of?
Probably that I trust myself. It took me a long time to do that and to get here in so many things, right? I mean, not just my career and my job and the fact that I trust that what I'm doing, but that I trust in my relationship. I trust in my relationship with my children, with my husband, with my friends, my family. I trust myself in all of these things, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Can you talk a little bit more about what that means to you, like that trusting yourself? Like, what does that feel like? Because to me, that means like, I know that any situation I find myself in, like, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, I've got this. Is that what it is to you too?
Yeah, exactly that, Heather. Whether it's trying to make a decision about my business, I may not know exactly the right answer, but I've got a pretty good idea. I've been down this road before with other companies and other businesses, so I have a pretty good idea about it. I got these cards. I'll show them to you. It's called Tales, and the card deck for rediscovering your partner. I got this for Tim for Valentine's Day. And there are these like deck of cards. And one of the questions was, what do you consider this time in your relationship to be? He and I have been married for 28 years. And he looked me square in the eye, didn't even like hesitate. And he said, it's the reward. So 28 years, we've been through career changes, hirings, firings, children in daycare, getting kicked out of daycare, whatever it was, we have been through so much in 28 years. And through all of that, we trust each other so much. We trust in what we're doing because of everything we've been through, that no matter what happens today, we trust the decisions we're going to make because of all that wisdom we have gained along the way. So really, when I say trust myself, it's because of all of that knowledge and wisdom that I've gained and earned over these years.
It's fun when our partner also trusts us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can lean on them, like Michael and I have a conversation regularly when, like I'll talk things through with him, and he'll be like, do you want me to just listen, or do you want to hear what I have to say?
Yeah.
And like a lot of times I just need to talk at him because I can work things out on my own. But then I know that anytime he tells me his opinion, it's going to be with my best interest at heart. And it's coming from a space of like, because we've been married for 23 years. So, like, those relationships, so we grow up together.
Yeah.
It's nice having that.
It's a sounding board,
yeah.
It's whatever you need it to be. You're very lucky. I feel very lucky too to have that, because not a lot of people do, but it sure is comforting.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And I can freak out, and he doesn't take it personally. He's just like, okay, you're having one of those days. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
So, I love talking to you, period, but I loved talking to you about this. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show again and do this with me.
Well, of course, I love these conversations. I really enjoy talking to people who have similar backgrounds. There's a connection, there's a kinship, I think, that happens when you talk to people. Not everybody can relate to where you are in your life. And that's okay, because everybody has different experiences. But it sure is nice when you find somebody who has a similar experience, to connect with.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the listeners appreciate it as well. So listeners, as always, I will drop Liz's contact information in the show notes, so you can follow Myne Beauty, on Instagram, and she's on Facebook. I follow her on all the things.
You do. Thank you.
I do. And thank you so much, Liz, and listeners, until next time. That's it for this episode. If you had fun, learned something, or just feel a little less alone in the chaos, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want to keep the conversation going, come find me on Instagram @HeatherMoves_, because midlife is way more fun when we do it together. Until next time, keep moving forward, or at least keep moving. See ya.